Hello! So, you want to make a Doctor Strange portal. Well, there's lots of other tutorials on that, so might as well go somewhere else. But I haven't really seen any other videos on how to actually make your portal look like it's part of footage. Like, make it go behind stuff and bounce off things. And I also haven't seen any other tutorials on how to make it look like the footage that's inside your portal match the camera movement of the footage that's outside of your portal, which is really important if you want this illusion to work. Before we get too deep into it, I'd like to mention real quick that I just released an asset pack of looping smoke elements, and these things can be ridiculously handy if you're a visual effects artist and you want to add some life to your scene. To get them for free, there's a link in the description. First of all, to make your portal look like it's actually inside your footage, there's a couple of different things that's important to look at. It's pretty important to get a good track, and also, in your 3D viewport, it's pretty important to get at least a rough representation of the environment that the portal is going to be in. And when you do that, a couple of really cool things happen. So if we take a look here at the raw view layer, you can see these sparks are going crazy all over the place, but you can't see them in the parts where the bridge should be going in front of them, as you can see here. So the way you get this to work is you select the geometry that you've reconstructed of the footage, and in the object properties, you can go down to visibility, and I've just checked shadow catcher. Now it's not really catching any shadows, but that way it does end up being that mask so that it looks like the actual bridge is in front of the sparks. This is pretty rough. You can actually see some things overlapping in ways that they probably shouldn't, but it does the trick. Now another really great thing about having this rough geometry is the particles can interact with it. It's a little bit difficult to see, but these particles are actually bouncing all over this bridge, and they're running into it and bouncing off of it. And if we select the bridge, you can see I've just gone into the physics panel here, and I've checked collision, and I've just turned up some of these dampening values and randomized values so it doesn't look like they're ping pong balls. But when you do that, you can kind of see that they're actually running into this object. And since that object is basically the same as the object in our footage, it looks like our particles are interacting with our footage. So that's the first technique that I haven't really seen in any other portal tutorials. And the second one has to do with compositing. You can see with our composite, we've got a few different layers. We've got our original movie clip of the bridge, and we've got our clip of what's inside the portal. And you can see I've also created this mask here, which is just black and white, and it's actually a 3D object. So it's moving with the same movements as the original footage here. And if we mix those together with a mix node, using the mask as the factor, you can see we get this, which is starting to go in the right direction, but there's a big problem, and that's that the footage inside the portal is not moving like the footage outside of the portal. And you kind of want perspective to be consistent throughout your portal. So our fix for this is to introduce another element. And what I've created here is this other layer, and this is what I'm calling the 3D background. And if we look in the rendered view here, you can see it's just basically a screenshot of the footage inside the portal that I've projected onto some really basic 3D geometry. And since our camera here has been tracked to the original bridge footage, it's moving with the same perspective as the original bridge footage. So what we do in compositing, at a certain point, frame 335 is where I took the screenshot that I projected onto the geometry. So ideally, if we render it out, our projected geometry here looks pretty much the same as our movie clip. Now you can see it's a little bit different, but not different enough to notice. So on this frame, we can do a little bit of a switch, and it's okay to switch it because at this point in the timeline, you can't really see the original footage anymore, because we're pretty much all the way through the portal. We can go into layout and grab a switch node, and I'm going to set this to go into the off position and the original footage to go into the on position. And if we back up to frame 334, we can hit I with our mouse over the switch part, and that'll add a keyframe. And then if we go to frame 335, then we can switch that into the on position, and that will switch from our 3D background to our actual footage here. And now with our 3D scene inside the portal instead of the footage up until a certain point, this is what it looks like. Of course, to get the particles and everything, there's a little bit more compositing, and I'm not going to cover it in this particular video, but I do have a playlist on how to create this shadow portal effect, which is quite similar to the Doctor Strange portal effect, just less sparks and a little bit more smoke. Speaking of smoke and shadows and misty craziness, if you're interested in getting the free asset pack of smoke elements, that link is in the description.